Welcome to Leadership Drip. I'm Ralph Henderson, your host. And today I have to tell you, we have someone that I'm actually a pretty big fan of, and I follow online and on their podcast. And I'm excited for you to hear from this person about their vision and their mission and what they're doing in all things related to Unpackin It. Welcome, Bryce Johnson.
Ralph, great to be with you. I appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure, Bryce. I was serious about being a fan. Now, you are currently the president and, of course, the founder of Unpackin It, but you're also the host of the Unpackin It podcast. Kind of tell the audience what Unpackin It is.
We're a community of sports fans who follow Jesus. And so we basically this whole idea of let's have conversations about sports that lead to conversations about life and faith. And so we do that on the podcast. We do that in smaller groups. We do that at events. And so it's living the life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. And so we're based in Charlotte, of course, and love all the incredible kind of sports fans in this town that we get together. We'll do a trivia night, and then we'll get together for the Man Up conference, and then we'll do the golf tournament, and then the flag football tournament. And so it's a lot of fun, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to lead this ministry day in, day out.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And you do have quite a few things that you do that I have actually been a part of and continue to be a part of. And I'm excited about all those things. But before we get to that, help us with, where did this vision come from? Like how did this get created?
So it began, and I was actually reading about this morning. It's about humility. And so God humbled me, and it was a season after. So I was a radio host and was chasing this dream of being the next Dan Patrick. And God really humbled me and stripped me from kind of my own desires and my own pride, and led me and opened my eyes to this vision to be able to incorporate my faith into sports talk. And I wasn't exactly sure how that would play out, and definitely didn't fully see all the different ways that it has played out. But it began as a sports and faith radio show. So Unpackin It started, I was doing it in Charlotte, but we were sending it to Boston. And then that radio show got syndicated. And then over the last 7 or 8 years, we've basically watched God expand the ways that we reach sports fans. And so we've transitioned from the radio to podcasting and video and all that sort of thing. I started writing, and so we have devotionals and then all the different events that I mentioned. But my background was sports radio. And so back to that idea of conversation. So I love connecting with sports fans. And so that's what drew me to kind of the sports talk world. But now the kind of the venue has changed, and ultimately the purpose has changed. So I don't want to just talk sports. I want to talk sports so that it leads to conversations about Jesus, about life. What does it mean to be a husband, dad, leader, follower of Jesus day in, day out? What does that look like? So that's what drives me as we do Unpackin It.
No, and that's fantastic. And so many times, as leaders, as business owners, as professional speakers, we use sports as metaphors for a lot of what we talk about as it relates to leadership and organization and people management. And the fact that you're steeped in it and had that vision says a lot. And I want this audience to hear that. The thing that you exude is just that belief in who you are, whose you are, and kind of what you're here for. And I know we all admire that and aspire to be more like that, but I want them to hear from somebody who truly believes that. And that's why I was so excited about having you here. But listen, when you and I first met a few years ago, Unpackin It was in a pretty tough place. I remember I was part of an organization that helped out businesses, and you were one of the ones that came in and told us the story. And I was impressed with who you were and what you were doing, but I was also impressed with kind of where you were and what you were thinking then And so tell the audience a little bit about that time and about maybe the roller coaster as it came down a little bit for Unpacking It.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you start something, you don't you're learning as you go. And so there I was a young guy starting this ministry, and what does it look like to have a board? And so you have to have donors and raise money and show the activity and the work that you're doing and the impact that you're having. And so as we were getting going, it was trying to figure out and navigate all of that. And so I had this vision. God gave me this desire. He birthed the vision in me. And then I had to step out and go. And what happens, and this is what I experienced, when you get rejected and people go, I don't like this idea. I don't think this ministry is going to work. Or,
Right.
what happens when people say, no, I'm not going to support you, or I'm not going to donate to you. And I had to learn to persevere and say, all right, if God gave me this vision, if God gave me this passion and has given me enough to keep going, then I've got to rely on him. And so there were certain months where we got to the very end of the month and I bumped into a former friend, and he went online that night and gave the exact amount of money that we needed to keep things going. And so story after story where God showed up and he just gave me the strength to keep going and to continue to seek him and seek wisdom from different people. And so, guys like you, Ralph, that rallied around me, that helped me. Okay, have you thought about this? Have you considered that? And so we tried a lot of things as we were starting the ministry. Some things worked, some didn't. Some things were for a season, and then all right, now we'll move on from that. And so it's been cool. I mean, we've now, all these years later, we've got a rhythm of what we are. And so I've been writing since 2016, a devotional that goes out through email. And so that's been a key cornerstone. And then again, with the radio transitioning to podcast, we've been willing to adapt. But it's basically, all right, how do we reach sports fans and how do we just keep it going? And God has been faithful and good and kind and generous. And you see who's really in. So we've got supporters that have been with us, that have stuck with us, and they've been able to be a part of this journey and see, some of the growth. We're just still getting going. Like we've only scratched the surface. I'm still a young guy, even though I'm in mid-30s, and I'm committed to this as long as God wants me to do it. But I get the sense that he wants me to do this for a while. And so we are just still getting going. So,
yeah, no, and I appreciate that story. And I know the audience does too, because a lot of times, that's when we see the leadership. Let's face it, a lot of times when things are going well and humming, with due respect, as a business owner, I think I can say this, you're really just managing the business. And I'm not saying that's easy or, that everybody should do it. But certainly when you go through what you went through when you and I met, that's where the leadership and the belief comes out. And that's what I want this audience to hear. But the good news is you have come out of that, even through what we've just gone through with this pandemic and continue to go through. And yet now you seem to have a lot of things going on. And I alluded to it earlier. You've got this flag football tournament that you do every fall. And I'm going to tell you right now, whenever you think of flag football tournaments, think a lot more when you think about what Unpacking It does, because I've been connected to this and it is fantastic. You've got the golf tournament that you do that is really exemplary. And then you also have this thing called Man Up Charlotte that you've been doing for a couple of years. And maybe since that's like right now and current, tell the folks a little bit about what is that and how is Unpacking It connected to that?
Yeah, so this is a tremendous collaborative effort with multiple ministries and churches coming together to put on a conference for men, to build them up, to encourage them. And the reality is this last year, so many different difficult situations that we faced. And we just want to come together on June 19th to have conversations that encourage, that equip, that inspire. What does it mean to be a husband, father that follows Jesus, and how can we help one another and live life together? And so we'll experience fellowship that day, but then also connect in order to further that fellowship. And
this is something you're going to be a part of like year in and year out. So it isn't if they miss it that they somehow don't get a chance. I mean, you're going to do this as far as you're concerned for quite a while.
Lord willing, we'll keep this conference going. And yeah, it's an opportunity for men all over the city. So different churches and backgrounds and money, race, age, whatever. We get to come together one day, Father's Day weekend, to rally one another, encourage one another. And then we remain connected through CBMC,
Right.
through Unpacking It, through a lot of the local church
Okay.
ministry initiatives that continues year round. And then the secondary aspect, not secondary, it's kind of equal, for what this conference is all about. We want to encourage men, and then we want to inspire men to recognize that there are fatherless kids in our city
Right.
that need mentors, that need us to come alongside them to walk this journey with them. And so throughout the morning, through this conference, we inspire men to look beyond themselves and to say, all right, Lord, can I step in and be a mentor and help a kid understand what it looks like to be a man, to be a husband, father, leader, those types of things. So
Yeah.
two things going on throughout the conference, which is awesome.
That is awesome. And thank you for doing that. And the other thing that you talked about was you do this journal, and I'm sorry, I'm probably not saying it right, but I do read it. I read it regularly. And what I love about it is how you apply current events. And when I say current, I mean sometimes within hours. And then you apply that to a leadership or a biblical or, a life application. And I enjoy those. So maybe help people know how to connect with you and know how to get those, because if nothing else, I think that would be something that would be very encouraging for them.
No, I appreciate that. So unpackinit.com, you can subscribe to the devotional, and it takes you a couple minutes to read. We send it out Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Current sports story, how it relates to the Bible, how it relates to our own lives. And we just look at the parallels of sports and okay, and what can we pull from the latest NFL story, the latest NBA story, college football, basketball, you name it. And we'll just kind of, what can we learn? What can God show us through what's actually happening and what we're talking about in sports?
So as a young man and as a leader, what would you say to somebody watching this that's maybe in a leadership role, or somebody who's been thinking about doing something in leadership, whether it's a woman, a man, young or old? I mean, from where you sit, because of all that you've been through and continue to go through, what would you say to somebody just from a leadership perspective to encourage them a little bit?
Wow. I would say keep seeking the Lord and continue to humble yourself and humble yourself before the Lord and understand that as we desire to be leaders, it starts with serving. And so how are we serving, the people around us that may be on the journey with us, but ultimately, how are we serving the people that we're trying to reach? And whether that's a customer or, for us, it's sports fans. And so how are we serving them and looking through that lens? And so we've got to get out of the way. Like sometimes it's about me building and me being a leader and me doing this. Whoa, time out. How is God leading? And how am I keeping the person, the people at the forefront? And how am I giving my life to them and what's best for them, type of thing. So that would be my encouragement to myself and anybody listening.
No, I love that. And I think now you've given me the title for this segment, and that is Time Out, It's Time to Serve.
That's it.
Right. No, I love that. Thank you so much for being a part of this, man. I so appreciate you, what you're doing, and look forward to just seeing everything that you've got going on. And thank you for that. And thank you for being a part of this.
Well, thanks, Ralph. And thanks to you for being loyal and a great friend and always supportive and encouraging to me along this journey. So great to be with you on this. And it's been fun linking arms on a lot of different ministry efforts as well.